Hey guys, Goat here, coming to you with another Backcountry Basics video. This time we have a special guest with us, my beautiful wife Mindy. And while the intro was indeed intended to be a little bit facetious and funny, this is actually a pretty serious issue, guys. And it's honestly, it's one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm in the woods. There's nothing like enjoying a beautiful stroll down a beautiful trail, and you're in the moment, you're just enjoying nature. It's beautiful, it's amazing. And you come around the corner and shazam, right there on the trail, big old pile of toilet paper. Here is a perfect example of what I am referring to. Cruising along the trail, and look, lovely teepee stashed in and amongst the trees. Wonderful, wonderful. Gotta love it, right? So, yeah, definitely an important issue that I feel that I should address. You know, not only is it unsightly, but, you know, improperly disposed of human waste, not only can it make you sick, it can make everybody else around you sick. You can ruin an entire water supply if you don't do this right. So please, if you don't know how to handle your backcountry human waste situation, watch this video. I'm about to show you how. All right, so backcountry basics, going potty in the bathroom. We'll start with the easy one, going number one. Obviously, if you're a guy, you've been doing this your whole life, you know how to do this in the woods. You've probably done it in the woods your whole life. So I'm not even going to get into that. What I am going to get into, 90% of the time when you see TP on the side of the trail, usually it's, I'm not being sexist here, I'm just going off the statistics. Usually it's because a female has gone tinkle on the side of the trail and dabby drop on the ground, walk away. It does not disintegrate for like years. It takes forever. So we have our backcountry female specialist here, and she's going to talk to you guys about how to go tinkle in the backcountry.
Everybody's got to go. If you can't bury it, do you have a Ziploc baggie? Do you have some kind of bag with you? Can you take it out with you? Girls, certain times of the month, have a Ziploc or a glider lock baggie with you with wipes in there, pads, anything you need to clean yourself up. Carry it in, carry it out. Have a separate bag to put your used items in. First chance you get to a trash can, dispose of it there. No big deal.
So what I'm getting from you is basically bring a little garbage bag with you
Exactly.
to put your TP in and carry it out. Now, I've also seen you guys use another method, the handkerchief. You want to get into that?
If just gotta pee, that's no big deal. You have your handkerchief hanging off your backpack. You can get it wet, clean your area, hang it off your pack to dry. It doesn't draw any odors. It's all natural, no big deal.
And there's nothing left over that the next hiker has to see or that you have to dispose of, right?
Yeah, that's really gross. No bigger bummer than going into an awesome campsite and find where you're about to unroll your sleeping bag is a big wad of used toilet paper.
Yes, we've seen that more than once. Okay, so now we've covered number one. Now we're going to move on to number two. All right, and number two, well, let's face it, everybody has to do it, front country or back country. It's going to happen sooner or later. So best thing I can tell you is be prepared. If you can be prepared, have the right gear with you, which really consists of nothing more than a small shovel, a little bit of toilet paper, and I will show you a method that I use. And the only piece of advice I will give you with it is if you're in an area where there's a burn ban, use a little common sense. Don't burn down the forest, please. I want to hike there too. So let's start with the initial preparation stage. All right, so here is what my backcountry toilet kit pretty much consists of. I have a lightweight shovel, which conveniently has the 6-inch mark on it. I have a lighter, and I have my TP in a bag. If you are wondering about the 6 inches, Basic human waste disposal rules in the backcountry state 200 feet from water, or the trail is also a good rule, and at least 6 inches deep human waste needs to be buried. So having 6 inches on your little shovel there is a helpful indicator to kind of tell you how deep you need to go. Again, preparation is key. So you start by having the right gear, then you got to select a good location. Again, 200 feet from any water source, please. 200 feet from any trails or camps. And the Pacific Northwest is kind of ideal. We have all these pine trees up here. And so, you can kind of learn to identify these little pockets where there's a ton of just pine needles have gathered over the years and created a very easy to dig in soil. So the next step, let's get our 6-inch hole dug. And if you can, ideally, you want to do this before the urge hits. Nothing worse than having to hold something in while you're trying to get a hole dug. Just remember, rule number 1 of the trowel is the trowel only ever touches dirt. All right, clearly we can see there our hole is 6 inches deep. However, if you are a human grown-up, this is not an adequate cat hole. Let me demonstrate why. Plop, plop, plop. Okay, our hole was 6 inches deep. We saw it. It was on the shovel. Clearly, this is not acceptable. There is no way, if this were actual human waste, this would be contained 6 inches under the ground. So, not being gross, not being disgusting, you know the size of your BMs. Dig a hole big enough and deep enough to contain the entire thing 6 inches below the level of the soil. There. Now, our material can be contained beneath the surface. Now I can already hear you. But goat, what if I miss? The trowel is only for the dirt. In that case, you just want to grab a stick, anything you can find that's handy. Don't play with it, it's gross. Get it into your hole. You're going to need a stick anyway for the next part. Okay, on this next part, again, guys, I'm going to ask you just to use a little common sense. If you're in an area that has a burn restriction, if you're in an area where there's lots of dry limbs, grass, anything that can't be contained inside your hole, just use the stir method. But primarily what I do in the backcountry, once I'm done, I light it, I burn it, I use my stick I'm going to be stirring it with anyway, and I burn it up. And when it's done, then comes the fun part we call poop soup. You're going to scoop some of your dirt back in there on top of your ashes. This is going to ensure that your ashes are completely extinguished. And then you're going to mix this dirt up with the ashes and with the waste that is in here. What this does is kickstarts the bacteria in the soil to get this broke down and make it so that it actually will go away, in a much quicker time period. So once you've made your poop soup, you can pretty much, I always jab my stick in like that just as a marker. Now again, only touching the dirt. I'm going to fill my hole back in. I'm going to stamp it down, really mash that down in there. If I got a hole covering, I'll try to get that back on there. Really just trying to get the ground back to square zero where we started at. And then one thing that I always do, just to discourage anybody else from digging there, I try to kick some things over the top of it, some sticks and whatnot, cover it up. And that's pretty much it. That is how you're going to dispose of your waste. All right, so now you know kind of how to dispose of it, how to be prepared. Let's talk actual methods. The first method I'm going to tell you about, there's a really funny story behind it. All I'm going to tell you is make sure your tree has solid roots. Okay, if your tree doesn't have solid roots, you're going to wind up in an interesting situation. I say this from experience. So this is what I call the tree hugger method. You'll have your hole dug here. You'll grab your tree, britches down around your ankles, hang on to the tree, lean back, handle your business. That was my initial style. I'm not going to tell you the story, but make sure the tree has good roots. Another method that I have employed since then is what I call the sumo style. You basically dig your hole, and then you're just going to squat and kind of basically get as low as you can, hold your balance, and have your hole underneath you. Maybe hold your pants out of the way. But yeah, this is the sumo method, and I find this to be the most comfortable and works the best for me, even an old guy with bad knees. There's also the log method. I see a lot of people do this. You find a log, the appropriate height over a tree, over an area, and you sit over the log. I've never been a big fan of that one. So these are just a few methods that I can tell you about. If you're interested in finding some more, check out Backpacker Comics. He's got a strip on Instagram that is all about the multitude of ways to be able to do this in the backcountry, and it's pretty funny too. So, all right, well, we've covered number 1 and we've covered number 2. If you have any questions at all, please, I would rather you ask myself or somebody else that knows than to just wing it. Feel free to drop any questions or comments in the box down below. And if you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything from it, if it's any help to you at all, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to hit that little subscribe button down below.
Girls, don't be embarrassed. Ask questions. I'll get to it.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.